They said it would take a miracle to revitalize cinema during the darkest days of 2020, and yet one unlikely hero rose from the pages of a manga to spark a global phenomenon. That is how many fans describe the meteoric success of the Demon Slayer franchise, fueling a new wave of passion for anime worldwide. But what truly transpired behind the scenes of its record-smashing run? And how does it all connect to a new and mysterious story arc known simply as the Infinity Castle? Today, I invite you to journey with me into the heart of this enthralling saga, where ambitious filmmaking, explosive storytelling, and a devoted community of dreamers converge in spectacular fashion. In this deep dive, we will unravel how one film took theaters by storm, why its successor threatens to shake the foundations of modern anime storytelling, and how the cunning demon Muzan Kibutsuji might hold the key to an unimaginable twist. Prepare yourself, because the Infinity Castle awaits, and it will not release its captives easily. In this exploration, we will tackle some of the biggest questions burning in the minds of fans. First, how did Mugen Train, an animated film about a band of demon hunters on a perilous locomotive ride, soar to become the highest-grossing movie of 2020? Second, who is responsible for translating a once-serialized manga story into a visually jaw-dropping feat of animation? Third, what does this new film trilogy, set in the dimension-bending Infinity Castle, hold for our stalwart hero, Tanjiro and his demon-turned sister Nezuko? And finally, we will ask whether the final confrontation with Muzan Kibutsuji is lingering just around the corner, or if an even more shocking revelation lies in store. Buckle up, because we will journey from the earliest seeds that turned Demon Slayer into a juggernaut, all the way to the moment fans have been breathlessly awaiting. You do not want to miss a second of this narrative. Let us begin by rewinding to 2016, the year that Koyoharu Gotoge's Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba, first appeared in the pages of the revered weekly Shonen Jump magazine. At the time, the publication was bursting with popular shonen series, each seeking to capture the hearts and imaginations of a culture already saturated with competitive storytelling. Yet even amidst beloved hits, Demon Slayer quietly garnered an early following. What made it stand out? In many ways, the unassuming premise, an unremarkable boy named Tanjiro attempting to save his demon-cursed kid sister, did not seem radically different from the countless boisterous adventures showcased in that magazine's storied history. However, behind its unpretentious surfaces dwelled an emotional depth that resonated powerfully. Tanjiro's ordeal, after all, was not merely physical. His journey confronted essential questions about familial bonds, loyalty, guilt, and sacrifice, all while exploring the moral gray zones between humans and demons. Koyoharu Gotoge's distinct artistic flair, mixing atmospheric Edo period influences with cunning visual illusions, also caught readers' eyes. In little time, Demon Slayer evolved from a humble newcomer to an unrelenting phenomenon, with fans praising its humor, heartbreak, and relentless tension. The series soon captured the imagination of Studio Ufotable, the same powerhouse that had dazzled anime viewers with gorgeous animations for a range of fantasy epics. Determined to capture the bold lines and emotional resonance of the original manga, Ufotable embarked on a mission to bring Demon Slayer to TV screens everywhere. Flash forward to 2019, and Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba, roared onto the small screen under the seasoned direction of Haruo Sotozaki. Within weeks, viewers around the world were buzzing about the show's meticulously crafted fights, each meticulously layered with vibrant color composites. Word of mouth spread like wildfire, igniting curiosity among those who had not read the manga. Soon enough, the series soared to unexpected heights of popularity, with critics lauding its crisp visuals and heartfelt storytelling. But no one could quite anticipate the explosive success that was about to arrive in the form of a theatrical film. In the latter half of 2020, theaters across the globe faced an unprecedented crisis. With worldwide events forcing repeated closures, many believed that the age of the multiplex was on the verge of extinction. Film studios scrambled to delay releases or shift them to streaming platforms. Into this uncertain environment charged Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba, Mugen Train, an unassuming title that rapidly became one of the most important box office stories of that year. The film arrived like a streak of lightning to break attendance records in Japan, eventually grossing over $507 million worldwide, enough to secure the coveted title of the highest-grossing film of the year. Fans and industry insiders marveled at how an anime film had conquered such treacherous conditions, surpassing other big-name releases and becoming a cultural talking point. Some said it provided an escape for those cooped up at home, longing for a grand adventure in which brave souls faced malicious foes but refused to give up. Others pointed to the unstoppable momentum built by the original animated series and the loyalty of fans who wanted to see the epic Mugen Train arc brought to life on the largest screen possible. Whatever the reasons, Mugen Train emerged as an instant classic, solidifying Tanjiro, Nezuko, and their allies as global household names. But for all the glory of Mugen Train, it was not meant to be the final blossom in Demon Slayer's garden of cinematic achievements. The creative minds behind the franchise soon announced that the Infinity Castle arc, one of the manga's climactic storylines, would be receiving its own adaptation, and not merely as another compilation or one-off special event. Instead, this material would form the basis of a sprawling trilogy, with each film delving deeper into the labyrinthine stronghold controlled by the sinister Muzan Kibutsuji. For fans, this news is nothing short of electrifying. The Infinity Castle storyline marks a decisive turning point for Tanjiro and the Demon Slayer cores, capturing the tension, heartbreak, and triumphs that have made the series so beloved. So, what exactly is the Infinity Castle? Imagine an otherworldly fortress that defies normal rules of time and space, a demonic domain where corridors shift and floors rearrange themselves in an endless maze. For the Demon Slayer core, being transported into this fortress is like stepping into the belly of the beast. One moment, they are fighting for their lives in a familiar setting. The next, they find themselves scattered throughout this surreal environment, forced to face cunning adversaries on unstable ground. In the original manga, these chapters represented a turning point for nearly every main character, testing them in ways that left fans breathless. The Infinity Castle arc also sees the relationship between Tanjiro and Muzan reach new levels of confrontation, with harsh revelations about demon origins and shocking truths about Tanjiro's family tragedy. Now, with the upcoming Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba Infinity Castle film, director Haruo Sotozaki and the creative team at Ufotable face the daunting task of bringing these kaleidoscopic visuals to the big screen. Judging by the newly unveiled trailer, they are embracing every ounce of creative liberty. Rolling architecture seamlessly morphs into twisting passageways, flickering lanterns cast ominous shadows, and fights explode with color and kinetic force. Whereas Mugen Train took place on a relatively confined locomotive, Infinity Castle opens the gates to a shape-shifting labyrinth that rivals some of the most surreal landscapes animation has ever conjured. You might be thinking, is Infinity Castle truly too big to be contained in a single film? Indeed, the film's creators believe so. While Mugen Train encompassed just one self-contained arc from the manga, the Infinity Castle storyline is sprawling enough that it will be split into 3 interconnected films. This approach is designed to let each segment of the arc breathe, ensuring that none of the manga's most crucial developments are rushed or overlooked. From the battles pitting the Demon Slayer core against the 12 Kazuki, to Tanjiro's relentless mission to cure Nezuko and avenge his family, every major thread will unfold in heart-stopping detail. Before we peel back more layers of this enthralling saga, now is the perfect time for our first little invitation. If you find yourself as captivated by Demon Slayer's saga as so many millions around the globe, consider showing your enthusiasm with a quick like or a share. No pressure, just a friendly nudge to let us know that you want more of this deep dive content. After all, the upcoming Infinity Castle trilogy is shaping up to be a game changer, and your support helps keep the conversation vibrant. Let us return to Tanjiro's journey. At its core, Demon Slayer is as much a personal quest as it is a sprawling ensemble piece. Tanjiro, whose unassuming kindness belies an inner reservoir of determination, has already traversed seemingly insurmountable dangers. He has endured punishing training, confronted monstrous demons, and formed unlikely friendships with brash young swordsman Inosuke and timid but lightning-fast Zenitsu. Above all, Tanjiro has remained motivated by the dream of restoring Nezuko's humanity, a dream that sits at the heart of the narrative. As the Infinity Castle arc begins, that dream is threatened like never before. In the depths of this dimension-defying fortress, Muzan Kibutsuji pulls the strings with a sinister grin. He is not merely the oldest and most powerful demon, he is also the mastermind responsible for the tragedy that kicked off Tanjiro's quest in the first place. The Infinity Castle arc sees this conflict come to a head, pitting Tanjiro and his allies against Muzan's formidable generals. The battles promise to be some of the most spectacular in the series. Each clash brims with emotional stakes, because every demon slayer is fighting not just for personal survival, but for the fate of humankind. The fortress itself seems to conspire against them, rearranging walls and corridors to isolate or confound as the malevolent puppet master sees fit. Equally compelling is the internal struggle faced by each character. For instance, there is the stoic water Hashira, Giyu Tomioka, whose silent dedication is tested against unimaginable odds. There is the fiery Kyojuro Rengoku, whose presence in earlier arcs earned him a place in fans' hearts, and whose legacy looms in every subsequent confrontation. Then there are the other pillars, each with their own motivations, doubts, and unwavering convictions. The Infinity Castle arc has been lauded for its relentless pace of action, but it is also revered for moments of introspection that highlight the sacrifices made by these demon slayers. In many ways, these chapters of the manga brought readers face to face with the question of what it truly means to devote one's life to eradicating evil. But let us not forget the heartache that lingers at the edges of this universe. When we speak of demon slaying, we are also speaking of sadness. Each demon, once human, has a sorrowful backstory woven into their monstrous existence. Demon Slayer never forgets that nuance, and the Infinity Castle arc is no exception. The manipulative Muzan might be the embodiment of evil, but those who serve him often have their own tragic motivations. This moral complexity is precisely why Demon Slayer resonates so powerfully among audiences. It asks us if we can truly blame a demon for its actions when it was created through manipulation and cruelty, and how might we reconcile vengeance with compassion? Meanwhile, behind the production curtain, the filmmaking team at Ufotable is undoubtedly juggling a formidable challenge. Mugen Train was straightforward in comparison. A single location, a linear storyline, and a clear resolution. Infinity Castle, on the other hand, is a sprawling tapestry of subplots and shifting environments. For fans hoping that the cinematic adaptation will do justice to the manga's epic final arcs, the stakes are enormous. On top of that, we can only speculate about potential expansions or narrative additions. Might we get deeper insight into Muzan's origin, as hinted in the source material? Will certain underexplored relationships get additional screen time? And how will the animation studio elevate the fight choreography beyond what we have already witnessed? To understand the sense of anticipation swirling around this trilogy, consider that Mugen Train was not simply a fluke success. The Demon Slayer brand has soared to new heights since 2021, generating sums in the range of $150 million in various merchandise and tie-ins. With widespread demand, the pressure to deliver an Infinity Castle trilogy that surpasses even the wildest fan expectations is monumental. Yet if any team can accomplish this monumental feat, it is Ufotable, known for its unwavering commitment to quality. Indeed, the stage is set for a major confrontation between the unwavering hunters and the darkest corners of demonkind. At this juncture, you might be itching to leap into the complexities of the Infinity Castle wars. However, I must briefly shift our attention to how Demon Slayer itself has influenced broader trends in anime. The franchise's success has prompted major studios, streaming services, and investors to look closer at anime's global potential. Where once only a handful of mainstream audiences engaged with Japanese animation, we now witness a new wave of fans from every corner of the world. This thirst for immersive storytelling has spurred an uptick in adventurous, high-quality productions. People want stories that challenge them, enthrall them, and give them heroes to root for. And Demon Slayer excelled at all of these. Let us set the stage for what viewers can expect when the Infinity Castle opens its gates. The first film in the planned trilogy will plunge Tanjiro and his closest allies into the unpredictable corridors of Muzan's domain. Loose ends from prior arcs, such as the escalating tension between demon slayers who have lost loved ones and the demons that took everything from them, take center stage in a flurry of intense showdowns. I can imagine director Haruo Sotozaki's vision: swirling camera angles, reality-bending transitions between castle rooms, and sound effects that rattle the theater. Tension thickens with each corner Tanjiro turns, each new revelation about Muzan's monstrous designs. Then, Just as the stakes reach an apex, the film will likely deliver an emotional gut punch, forcing audiences to confront the tragic truths lurking behind demon transformations. But do not assume the story ends neatly with the fade to black. The Infinity Castle trilogy is designed to continue, pushing each installment to deepen the central conflict and raise the emotional stakes even higher. If the second film in the trilogy steps on the accelerator with bold confrontation sequences, the third promises to be the ultimate collision of destinies, a place where the lines between demon and demon slayer might blur or merge in shocking ways. Already, fan theories circulate about precisely how the final act will unfold, especially given that the manga included many chapters after the Infinity Castle arc concluded. Will the final film incorporate extra content, effectively weaving the last threads of the manga into a cinematic finale? The suspense is almost unbearable for those who have followed Tanjiro's odyssey from the very beginning. At this exciting juncture, allow me one more friendly invitation. If you are as exhilarated by the narrative developments as I am, consider subscribing or following along so that you will be the first to hear when we explore the next revelations from the set of Infinity Castle. This is the perfect moment to join the conversation, because the road from dedicated manga pages to cinematic legend is paved with surprises, and I would love to share them with you. Now, let us examine how Tanjiro's quest sets the emotional tone for the entire Infinity Castle arc. Picture Nezuko, braving her demonic impulses, yet tethered to her humanity by her brother's unwavering love. Imagine the swirling chaos of the fortress, floors folding in on themselves, monstrous silhouettes lurking around every corridor. The Demon Slayer Corps is scattered, forced to rely on their unique breathing techniques just to survive. Each new confrontation reveals something about the human heart, whether it be raw courage, lingering resentment, or heartbreaking regret. If the series has taught us anything, it is that the line between hero and villain can blur when you face unimaginable despair. The Infinity Castle arc has become a symbol of the full-throttle drama that Demon Slayer does best. It is both an epic stage for legendary battles and a poignant reflection on the bonds that hold families and friends together. Fans often remark on the series' ability to balance intense violence with tender empathy. This is particularly true in these final arcs, where we learn more about Muzan's twisted motivations, the desperation driving lower-ranked demons to follow him, and the unbreakable determination of the Demon Slayers to preserve hope in a bleak world. You can almost feel the ripple effect of Demon Slayer's continued success rippling through the anime industry. Some studios have begun to review the viability of cinematic arcs for their own properties, seeing how Mugen Train blasted through records that no one suspected an anime film could achieve. The Infinity Castle trilogy is poised to build on that legacy, potentially proving that anime-based films can continue to thrive on the big screen, even in an era of shifting consumer habits. With many viewers now preferring on-demand streaming, a theatrical release has the opportunity to create a communal experience, reminiscent of how fans used to flock to midnight premieres to share in the excitements and sorrows of beloved characters. Of course, grand achievements bring grand challenges. Can these new films outdo Mugen Train in terms of raw emotional punch and mesmerizing visuals? Will the Infinity Castle, so vividly depicted in the manga, transition effortlessly to the silver screen? The marketing campaign promises lavish set pieces and tension you can practically taste. The trailer alone, with its tantalizing glimpses of labyrinthine halls and glimpses of Tanjiro's determined gaze, set social media abuzz. Fans are dissecting every frame, hunting for the slightest clue about how faithful the trilogy might be to the source material's intricacies. It is also worth noting the global release strategies. Crunchyroll and Sony Pictures Entertainment have announced that the first Infinity Castle film will hit theaters in the United States on a grand scale, including premium formats like IMAX, ensuring that every swirl of color and every clash of swords stuns the audience with cinematic clarity. If the film replicates the communal excitement of Mugen Train, we might witness hordes of fans re-emerging at the box office to show support for Tanjiro's epic confrontation with Muzan. Let us not overlook the creative genius of Koyoharu Gotouge, whose work underpins the entire endeavor. The original manga spanned 205 chapters, concluding in a flurry of revelations that left readers both satisfied and wistful. The Infinity Castle arc specifically had about 20 chapters, each brimming with heart-stopping moments. By dissecting this storyline into 3 full-length features, the creative team can highlight the dizzying transformations of key characters, the heartbreak of illusions shattered, and the euphoria of seemingly impossible victories. We can guess that each film will likely cover roughly a certain chunk of these chapters, advancing steadily toward the inevitable confrontation between Tanjiro and Muzan. Even with the tremendous hype, Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba Infinity Castle might still surprise us. Could there be hidden epilogues or flashbacks adding depth to certain demon side characters? Might we see more of Tanjiro remembering his family's legacy, or perhaps glean new details about Nezuko's internal struggle? The unpredictability of the Infinity Castle itself suggests that each film can toy with a dizzying array of visual illusions. Illusions that twist the environment and test the stoic resolve of the Demon Slayers. When you step into a domain that literally rewrites itself at Muzan's command, narrative possibilities swirl in boundless directions. One reason fans cannot wait for more is the memory of how Mugen Train alternated between moments of rousing victory and scenes of searing loss. If the Infinity Castle arc treads that same path, expect your heart to expand with hope and then shatter with sorrow more than once. That emotional roller coaster is precisely the essence of good storytelling, forging bonds between audience and character, exposing hidden virtues, and reminding us that heroism demands sacrifice. No matter how monstrous the demon, no matter how impossible the fortress, there is always a spark of tenacity that can light the darkest corners. Now that we have navigated the labyrinth of details surrounding the Infinity Castle trilogy, from the unstoppable success of Mugen Train to the creative ambition driving the new films, you might sense a grand crescendo on the horizon. Indeed, Demon Slayer has evolved from a modest manga into a cultural beacon that unites fans across age, language, and background. Every piece of marketing, every snippet of footage, and every whispered rumor intensifies the sense that something enormous is about to unfold. The kind of once-in-a-generation event that unites fans in theaters worldwide to cheer, cry, and gasp in unison. We began with a startling reminder that Mugen Train single-handedly reignited a fading cinema-going culture in 2020. And now we stand at the threshold of an even more audacious project, daring to adapt the most twisted labyrinthine arc of all, the Infinity Castle. Will it match the epic scope that fans are craving? Will it push the boundaries of anime filmmaking to new limits? Or will it show us aspects of Tanjiro's journey that we never knew we needed? The answers remain tantalizingly just out of reach, hovering in that space between speculation and revelation. One aspect seems certain. Once the Infinity Castle cracks its doors open, no one who steps inside will walk away unchanged. That is the prophecy that Demon Slayer has etched into its storytelling from day one, and it is a promise that has never failed to deliver. The lines have been drawn, the trilogy is poised for launch, and all that remains is for audiences to hold their breath and follow Tanjiro into the heart of darkness, armed with unwavering courage and the faint hope of triumph. Thank you for immersing yourself in this deep exploration of the Infinity Castle arc and the unstoppable rise of Demon Slayer. The full majesty of Tanjiro's next battles is still on the horizon, but the sparks are already dancing in the air. Keep your eyes peeled for more revelations. This story is far from over, and each day we inch closer to the swirling chaos of a castle where reality slips like sand between your fingers. That is our story for today, dear adventurers. The labyrinth calls, and only the bravest among us dare to answer. Until we see the Infinity Castle unleashed on the big screen, let us cherish the excitement that comes with treading the unknown. The demon armies are restless, the demon slayers prepare for battle, and somewhere, Muzan Kibutsuji schemes in his shifting domain, awaiting the perfect moment to strike. The question is, are you ready to step into that fortress and witness destiny unfold?